I swear I feel like I'm launching the space shuttle.
Because of all the steps. Well, you have
Yes.
that giant laptop in front of you. I'm a little jealous.
I'm gonna use it to fact check you, and then I'm gonna close it.
You might need it up longer than that.
Hmm. I think this is all good. I don't know. We'll find out
Is this the
later.
first that you've done it like this?
Yes.
Okay. Have we
Yes.
never talked into microphones before, or were they all different ones?
No, we talked into. I used the shotgun mic that we use for you, and then I
Oh.
used the microphone on the end of the Zoom
Got it.
recorder, and it kind of worked and kind of didn't.
I'm not.
But I got brand new microphones.
I know. I feel so fancy here. I'm gonna try not to cackle into this when I laugh.
Yes, clean audio only. You know, okay,
I
what's
don't do
funny?
clean
What's funny is that Brian, he was telling me with Chat GPT, he does not use Google anymore
at all.
at all. And so,
I can see that.
yeah, well, it stuck in my head. And when I was in a hurry down here trying to get the Zoom recorder to work with the new microphones and then all the different moving pieces, the first thing I did was Google it, and it brought up some like YouTube videos. And I was like, I don't have time. There's no way.
To watch.
Yeah, and so then on a whim, I just jump on chat and I'm like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. I've got the Zoom H4n Pro and I'm trying to use this, this, and this, but this is what's happening." And literally answered all my questions immediately.
Well, it's interesting to me because I'm not a video person. I don't like watching videos. I can't handle it. But Chat GPT is perfect for me in that regard because it's not about you're not having to watch somebody explain something. It just is so concise in how it explains things. So it matches my brain. So I look at it, it's black and white, it's right reading and understanding. It's amazing. I love it for that.
Yeah. No, yeah, and it will even give you video suggestions,
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does do that. That's true.
but you're not really a video
I'm
person.
not a video person. Every once in a while.
So I thought
What?
I was thinking about naming the first part of this segment. Well, I heard because
I
because
would say it's more like facts unchecked.
yeah, but I've got the laptop, so we're gonna check them.
Yeah, what are you going to look at? Because it depends what your source is.
All
That
the
even makes there's like no fact checking.
I'm
Like
gonna
what
look at
is
all the
that?
stuff that you say that you hear on NPR.
I love NPR. Don't bash it. I love it. It's my favorite. I've listened to it since I was a nerdy little 14-year-old.
Well, okay, I alluded to some of this in my last episode, and I feel like you weren't there, but I feel like I was more than fair. And
Wait, no.
but I set this up.
Can I say no?
Oh, so wait a minute. So you listened to my last episode?
I listened to part of your last episode when I was driving home from Costco, and I was like, did he fact check that? That seems ridiculous. Like the borders of France and Germany not being protected. I'm like, there's all these refugees like coming over their borders nonstop.
That's
So I'm,
well, but they're being allowed to.
but
It's
it's a problem
right, but it's not. They're doing it on. It's not that they're sneaking over. They're letting them over because they have a birth
because
rate problem.
because they don't want them to die in the ocean because they have hearts, unlike some people that I know.
Well, I'm not sure there's an ocean between a lot of those countries. They're coming over on land, but
But do you have the ocean ones but still they're not letting them die.
all right. Let's that's our first NPR fact.
I don't even know.
If this
I don't claim to know any of this. I just know that I have a heart and I can't get behind the whole not letting people come over and die in another country thing.
well, if this whole episode dissolves our marriage,
Doubt that.
I've already spoken with the kids.
We've seen worse. we've
I,
we've handled way worse than
I've
that.
spoken with the kids, and I said, "Who do you want to live with?" And they just said, "The winner."
I doubt that. I think that our marriage has survived many a difference of opinion. And I think this will just go along with all of them.
Yeah.
We're very different people.
Well, okay. The first one we could probably easily just go ahead and knock it out
What?
is because we agree on this. It's the mass deportation thing.
Oh, God, yes.
And I was saying on the last episode, it just creeps me out how much satisfaction I see some
It's
people have when they talk
gross.
about it. But okay, but I have to be fair about this, because I said this last time, we are not affected really at all negatively, excuse me, by immigration, illegal or otherwise. And if you live, like, so it's easy to sit here and say, well, we shouldn't do this. But if you live, we spent time in Texas when I was in the Air
Yeah.
Force. And if you live in any of the border states, you might feel very differently. Like if it's really impacting you on a personal level.
I
And I can't speak to that because I'm not
yeah.
living it.
Yeah, and I understand. But hate is just I think, to me, everything just blows down to hate, love, fear, those kind of things, and when I feel like it's done in hate, I just can't get behind it. I
Yeah.
refuse to accept any answer that is driven by hate and fear. How about that? So, not that I have an answer per se, because I don't, other than, okay, if they're criminal, send them back, that's fine. If they're going to do criminal things, that to me makes sense. But to actually go into places of work, like employment, and find people who are actively working and supporting their families, to me, that's ridiculous. And that's just hate and fear driving the way. And I'll never get behind that.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing is just sad. It's just sad and messy because there's no easy way. It's almost impossible to do it the right way.
Well, and then also, if you think, okay, if you're on a border state, I think, and it would be hard. It would be hard. I understand how it would be hard, but you just can't judge somebody based on their looks. And I think that's what happens a lot. Is that, okay, you look a certain way, and I'm mad at this other guy that looks the same way, that did this, or that I heard about did this, and so therefore I judge you because you look the same way. And you can't judge people like that. I just don't feel like that's the right way to do things. I don't feel like, fix me, Rusty.
I got it.
Judge me.
We went over this, honey.
Ah, So anyways, like, I think that's where it rubs me wrong, is that they put everybody into that category, but they can't tell the difference between who's an awesome person that's just working really hard and came from a really rough situation that the judger would never, just can't imagine, because we have life so good here. Like, it's ridiculous how good our lives are here.
Yeah.
Even for people that are struggling, and we've been on the struggle bus before, so we can speak to it. Um, there's still opportunities out there that just don't exist in other countries, and I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I want to get to that
Yeah.
eventually too. But no, I completely agree, and that's my thought. The the right the right tends to be, they tend to love the idea of being tough on crime and lock them up and that sort of mentality. And yes, that is appropriate sometimes. But if you've gone from a very comfortable upper middle class or upper class upbringing and you went right to a good college, and then out of that college you went right to a great job and
Yeah.
got married, and you've just sort of always had that, I guess it's the American dream. It's not a
Mhm.
bad thing.
No, it's not.
But if you've never felt desperate,
Yeah.
and if you didn't grow up like we have, we have areas of our country, and I've spent years working in them, that, I mean, it's deplorable.
Yeah.
It's despicable that we
Mhm.
allow that type of poverty and that type of
In our own
crime in our own
country.
country, and
Yeah.
we're shooting money all over the
Yeah.
world. And it's basically, we're just creating, we're losing like generations
Mhm.
of kids that are growing up like that. And so I agree with you, because it's much like just the regular crime stance, that it's so easy to have, like, well, they do this, then lock them up. It's like, yeah, but you've never had to make that decision.
Yeah,
You've never been
exactly.
basically starving. These
Yeah.
kids grow up fighting for everything.
Mhm.
Every scrap of food, everything they've ever had, they fight for.
Yeah,
And then you wonder why, as they get bigger and older, they are out committing crimes.
exactly. Yeah.
I
It's the
can
way they
I,
know.
I can
It's
tell
what
you
they know.
why,
Exactly.
and we can send billions of
Yeah.
dollars to fight wars that we shouldn't be fighting,
Yeah.
but we can't spend that money here.
Mhm.
That's yeah, that's
So, yeah. So I'm like, "Eh." Okay, so we agree on that
We're
one.
not really debating very much.
No, on that one, I think we agree.
Okay, so here's the one that I'll set this up and I'm going to fact check it and I'll let you go on the record so I can completely
Oh, I'm
blow
not
you out of
going
the
on the
water.
record. This is all unofficial. I
You
need you to blur out my face, change my voice.
get you one of those get you one of those
Exactly.
back when I used to be a Democrat before I saw the light. Okay, you were saying that you heard
Heard.
that it was illegal for Trump to give Elon Musk access to all the data that they're parsing through to find all these crazy things we're spending money on. And so I guess I'm gonna. That's the tee up.
Okay.
You just
Okay, let
tell
me
me all
let me
about that.
rephrase that because I feel like hold on,
Let the record show.
let me backpedal 2 seconds. I don't know anything about any of this. All I know is that it just something about it feels off. I don't know what to say. That they can fire people and stop. I think what it is that they can go ahead and go into entire organizations that are government organizations and fire people, lay people off, and stop the work they're doing without any kind of, I don't know, notification or any kind of process. I think that's what I'm referring to. Like, what process are they following? What is the constitutional process for, I want to shut down this agency because I feel like it's a piece of crap? What's the process? Can you just lay everybody up and stop and lay everybody off and then just stop the whole process? Or is there an official process that's being avoided?
Hmm. Well, okay, that's a good question. And my from what I've heard, and this would need more checking. It's sort of like a lot of the shenanigans from the past are
Hmm.
kind of coming back to haunt the establishment because a lot of the things that we do aren't that our government does really aren't constitutional. They're started through executive orders and they're started like all the wars we've been fighting for the last 20 or 30 years. We have not had a declaration of war for any of those. They call them different things. They're armed engagements or they're this or they're that. And I think a lot of these things, a lot of these organizations and a lot of the spending and a lot of the madness that's going on, it was never really established through official channels to begin with. And so my thought is it's not very hard for like one presidents always do this. They come in on like day one and they undo all the executive orders of the last guy and then do a whole bunch of their own. And it's been happening for, decades
Yeah,
now.
but this is a different process
Right, but
because
I'm
he's like
just
literally shutting down organizations and then asking for private taxpayer information. Like that seems a little, I don't know, that gives me the creeps.
well, but the government has
They have it, but
access
why
to
does he
it.
need it?
Well, because he
He
needs
wants to
it.
know if the Echols are paying our taxes, which we are,
Why would
motherfucker.
why would
Sorry,
you say our
bleep.
names over the like come on, we're trying to
You have
keep the
named the podcast after yourself.
Well,
It
speaking
is
of
Rusty's World, by the way.
yeah. Speaking of taxes,
Yeah.
they're talking about trying to get rid of the IRS. He wants to turn it into the external revenue service.
What does that mean?
It means it would focus on like taxes and tariffs for companies and other countries and stuff and not taxing
Ooh, so
citizens.
will Trump and Elon Musk be taxed what they actually should be taxed?
Hmm.
Or
I
do
don't
they still
know.
get to keep all their loopholes?
No, I mean, rich people.
I love this. I love that he's going after all this money, but yet does he even pay his taxes?
I don't know. What wasn't there a big thing about his tax records or something he wouldn't release,
Trump
or
didn't.
he did?
Trump didn't release his, no.
Well, yeah, all the rich guys, you don't pay taxes on loans,
Mhm.
and so they always take loans against their assets,
Yep.
and so yeah. Oh, there's always gonna be
Just because
loopholes.
there's always gonna be loopholes doesn't mean we should allow it, because obviously they're not allowing it to happen for the government, blah, 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 efficiency, whatever, and they definitely don't allow it for us, so I don't know. Very fascinating. It's kind of ironic in my head.
We just need to get filthy rich, and then we'll be
Oh, yes.
using all those same loopholes, and we'll be fine.
I don't think so, because I think for myself, when I think about getting filthy rich, I'm like, "Okay, I'll have all that money, but I don't wanna be like, that's just creepy." Like, who needs all that money? Like, once you reach $1 billion, shouldn't you be like, "Oh, well, now we're good."
I don't think we're in any danger of reaching a
Once
billion
we
dollars.
reach $500,000, no.
Once we reach thousandaire status, I mean, who needs more than that?
I'm just saying, like, why don't people cap themselves? It's not like they're doing great things with their money. It really pisses me off.
Okay,
It
okay.
annoys me.
Oh, no. This is good because I tend to agree in partially with you, but the real question is who comes in and decides?
Since they don't do it for themselves,
Are you going to say the government?
I don't think the government should, but at the same point, that's ideal to think that the government wouldn't need to. In my head, like, we don't live in an ideal world. We don't live in a perfect world. We live with very flawed humans that need regulation. If I have to be told to stop at a four-way stop, then I think a billionaire should be told to fucking pay your taxes. You
Yeah,
know
but
what I
honey, you
mean?
so very rarely stop at stop
Hey, I
signs.
come to a full stop.
Right. Well, okay. Yeah. It's just okay. What creeps me out is the idea of the government stepping in and saying, "Look,
I
you've
agree.
been so successful. We're going to punish you now."
I
Now, okay, and I say that, but then they really should close these loopholes. I mean, because it doesn't make sense that normal people get taxed like crazy, and we don't have these kind of loopholes.
Yeah.
And the rich people, and one thing that was brought up is one of the tax proposals. Um, he's talking about dropping the tax on overtime, which we talked about, and tips, which I think would be great. But apparently, for sports team owners, there's a loophole where they can write off not just actual physical assets, but they can write off anything. And so they can write off contracts and they can write
like
off
air.
essentially. I mean, they can write off, you know, the value of a contract, or I didn't read into it, but basically it's a huge loophole for like if you own an NFL team or a
Mm.
baseball team or something. And so it's just one of the many loopholes. Now, of course, maybe you'll say, well, Trump doesn't own any, so of course he would. Of
He's all about
course, he
it.
doesn't mind, you know, dropping that
But
loophole.
hotels, no,
Um,
no.
yeah.
Don't be touching that. That tax goes up every year.
Well, real estate, the old saying is you want to make sure that you're doing the same thing that Congress does because they're the ones that make sure they structure their own loopholes, and that's why real estate's so good because many Congress people and senators have always owned
Mhm.
real estate, and yeah,
Yeah, that's
so we
funny.
got to buy some real estate and a sports team.
I'm on that.
No,
Yeah,
but the idea of the
interesting.
government stepping in and punishing someone for being successful, I hate that idea. But on the same token, I'm okay with I'm okay with the idea of the government taxing because I get taxed, everyone gets taxed.
Yeah.
And so I guess if you close those loopholes, then but then the counter argument is they pay way more than we realize. Like it's fun to say, oh, they don't pay their fair share, but then when you look at it,
Have you looked at it? Do you
yeah,
know?
I actually did one time, and it was like 10 or 20% of the population pays like 80 or 90% of the taxes.
So that's us. So
I don't think we're in that 10%. No,
do you mean
I mean like the
the
top
top
10%.
10%?
Because if you
Oh,
think about
okay.
it, many people like many lower lower middle class or middle class or whatever,
Mhm.
you can work it so you get a refund and stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you're getting a refund, then it's like, well, then you're not really paying all
No,
those
you're not paying any
taxes,
taxes. Well, you're paying
but
some,
I
but
don't I
yeah.
don't think that someone making 500,000 or $1 million a year is getting a refund. I highly
Oh,
doubt
no.
it,
No, no, no. We don't. Yeah,
and
exactly.
so um and so I think now that, but that's not the super wealthy, that's just like really well off people.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I think that is true. I'm
Yeah.
sure if you have like a fantastic salary and you're pulling down close to 1 million a year, you're probably screaming right now listening to us talk about rich people not paying their fair share.
Oh, well, but I'm not counting them as rich people. Like, I'm counting them as, like, I don't know. Like, when I'm thinking of rich people, I'm thinking, like, billionaires plus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm like, "Okay, go for your millions. That's fine. Find your loopholes. Whatever, whatever, whatever." But, like, once you hit a certain state up there, I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we buying 20 houses for personal property? I don't know. It's just so interesting. I heard this one interview on NPR, my favorite, and years ago, and it was this guy that is in the top. How did he put it? 0.01%. And it was just a really honest conversation. He's like, you know what? I'm trying to call for people in my same position to just recognize that it's not healthy. It's not healthy to not give back when we're doing this. It's not healthy to buy 20 houses all over the world for ourselves to live in, not even use it as an Airbnb, like, it's just for us. He's like, "It's just not healthy." He's like, "This is the reason that every civilization ever came down is that the wealth was accumulated amongst these very top people. The people got angry, the mass of people got angry and took those guys out." Like, this is history repeating itself over and over again. So it's like that was his call to people in his position, like, let's really think about what we're doing and why we aren't changing the world with our money.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's almost like a like a zombie apocalypse scenario where you
Well,
go for the
no, it's
rich
like
people first.
France, the revolution in France, it's the same thing there. Like, what that is a very common thing that you see happen.
Yeah, that's
When
true.
power is accumulated in a very few and money equals power in many situations, the people at some point will choose to revolt because they're done with it. Because those people in those powers aren't putting limits or boundaries around themselves. They're surrounding themselves by yes men instead of people that counter them and challenge them to be better humans.
I could use a few yes men in my life.
Yes men. Sorry, that's not me. I'm a challenger by nature.
No, it's a good point. That's a really good point. God, just okay. Someone, oh man, I was listening to an interview, and I forget who it was. Man, I wish I could remember, but it was very smart person, very grounded and down to earth person, and they were saying that one of their genuine fears is a civil war in America,
Yeah,
and that because I don't personally see that happening, and maybe that's just more wishful thinking.
I
But
kind of do.
for that person to say that, it kinda shook me a little bit.
I kinda do. I can see the perspective because you have well, and it kinda comes down to the tribalism of our political system where it's very oh god, it's so tribalistic, it's ridiculous, and lack of critical thinking therein.
Yeah, there's no critical thinking. Not these days.
Not that we're doing a wonderful job here, but you
It,
know,
it's the fluoride in the
we're
water.
still having fun.
Yeah. So okay, so one thing you mentioned earlier that I wanted to get to because you were actually my episode 1 and 2.
Ooh, look at that.
Even though you don't remember,
No.
you thought it was just one episode.
Yes. It all ran together in my head.
Yeah, thanks. But they're good episodes. They were more topic driven,
Mhm.
and we didn't really get a chance to go into like who you are. And I think that's pretty
Ooh.
interesting. So so where did it all begin? Well, I'll tell you. It began in Springfield, Missouri,
Yes, that is the birthplace.
which ironically is where we met.
It's where we met, where you proposed to me, where we got no, we didn't get married there. We got married here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Weirdly,
Yeah,
I don't remember why, but
I think we were working to save money,
yeah.
and that just made sense down here.
Yeah. Plus the square.
Yeah, square's cool.
That was nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so you spent some time in Missouri
Mhm.
as a wee lad, wee
Yes.
lass.
Yes, and then, I had the benefit of being able to travel all over the United States in an RV, which was super, super fun. I
The
really
benefit of homelessness.
yes, homelessness via RV. So I wasn't not home, my home just had wheels.
All right, why would you do something? Why would you do such a thing?
My parents were missionaries of the Baptist Bible Fellowship, independent at that, and so we would travel. The way that structure works is that you travel to different churches and they offer to support you in the mission work that you do. And so we would travel around. My siblings and I would sing at these churches, which is really funny to think about.
Can you give us a snippet right now?
No, I can't even remember any song at all. like, not even a little bit. So, I think I blocked it out because I did not enjoy that part at all, but I did love living in Argentina, that was fun. That was a really good time.
Oh, okay, so hang on. So you were what, 8 years old
Yeah,
when it
8 or
got
9,
started?
yeah,
And how
and
long
then,
did you travel
like, a year
raising
and a
support?
half, I think I was 9, almost 10 when we moved down to Argentina, and
Oh,
I met
okay.
Nati down there.
Shout out.
Yes, and we still talk and are great friends, and I love her. Um, and she taught me Spanish, so I was very academic, the nerd that I am. I had this little agenda that I would write in every day any Spanish word that I learned that day. Um,
Wow.
at 9. Natalia was learning English, so I would teach her English and she would teach me Spanish. And I just remembered my very first word I remember writing down was the color yellow, amarillo, which is funny. I can see my hand writing it. That's
Really?
funny. Yeah, it's so
Wow.
funny. I'm sure that's not the first word I learned, but that's what I remember.
Huh. Yellow.
And it didn't take too long to like be bilingual, maybe a year.
Well, it's because you were little.
Yeah, yeah, I was young. So that was a fun experience. Lots of things there.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So you travel the US
Mhm.
for like a year and a half or 2 years
Mhm.
raising support. You get that support and then you jump on a plane for Argentina
Yeah. Yeah, from Miami
from Miami,
to
which
Buenos Aires.
we got to go to Miami.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god, yeah, that'd be fun. My ears I don't think on that first trip they blew out. My eardrum didn't break that first time. I don't remember that. I do know on the way back they did, because 'cause
Yeah.
we'd come up and visit every couple years, every 2 to 4 years. Well, actually, I only remember twice coming back up, so maybe less.
Yeah, probably. And then your ears would
Definitely blow up.
explode on the plane.
It was terrible. Yeah, they would blow up. I'd be in a lot of pain, and then it would go away because they were blown up, so the pressure goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
pressure's not really an issue when you have new eardrums.
It's great. It's just getting there. It's a lot of work.
All right, so I know you lived in Rosario at first,
Mhm.
right? Which is where
Yeah.
you met
Natalia. Yeah.
Natalia.
Yeah.
And how long were you guys in Rosario?
I don't know. Maybe a year? Maybe a little over a year? I don't know. Because then when we moved to San Luis, which was it's this beautiful touristy little town that I love. It's on the other side of the Andes. It's on the desert side of the mountains. So you know how mountains have like their moisture side and the dry side. It was on the dry side of it, and my parents were taking over this church that was like a storefront. So the whole front was glass. And we lived in that little church and we had to like put up these sheets to cover the glass so that way people couldn't see in during the day. Our kitchen was not really a kitchen. It was like a camp stove. And our bathroom was a just a bathroom that you had to walk outside in a patio in the backyard to get to, and it had like a single little sink and a toilet. We had to make do with that for a while. That was crazy.
No kidding.
Yeah, that was like for that I don't even know how long, but it was definitely more than, like, a couple weeks. It was a good long time, and it was winter, and it was freaking cold.
Yeah, Argentina gets cold in the winter.
Yeah.
So you and your parents and your 3 siblings.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Living in a little storefront.
Yeah, it was a storefront. It wasn't crazy little, like, it just wasn't a house. So, it was a storefront that was empty that we'd bring in the pews from outside well, they were we kinda used them as beds, but then for church days, you'd bring them in and set everything up. It
You
was
bring your bed in for some strangers to sit on for
Yeah,
church.
it was wild. I don't remember a lot about that, but I do remember a little bit. Yeah.
And that was San Luis.
Yeah.
Okay. And you spent all your time in San Luis before
Mhm.
you moved back up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So then what's the culture of Argentina like compared to here?
Well, to me, it feels like it's more like family oriented. So it's families hanging out together, neighbors hanging out together, people having fun together. We have mate, which is that tea that we drink with the straw. So it's very familial. Like it's very people oriented and quality time oriented. and it's just not the same as it is here's, like, the rat race. You feel the rat race in the States. And if you've never been outside of the States, you don't know what it doesn't feel like to feel like there's not this pushing doom on you. You gotta go to work. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. It's just different. It feels so different. I don't know. It's just really different. When I was there, they still had where I was at, they still had siesta time, which was fun. So all the stores would close down in the afternoon.
Wait, has that changed?
I'm sure it's changed now as things get more modern. Yeah.
The hustle culture.
Yeah, exactly. Dang, I hate that. But it was nice to not have that.
Yeah, I mean, I visited with you down there a couple of times,
Mhm.
2 or 3.
You went for Nutty's wedding, and then on our honeymoon, we were down there for a while,
Yeah.
for
So
about a couple of weeks or so.
no,
Can't
like 6 weeks.
I thought it was 3 weeks.
No, it was a long time.
Were you dying?
No, I
You
loved
loved
it.
it? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Except Argentina, it's in South America, but it's not. You might as well be going to Europe.
Yeah, it's not Costa
There's
Rica.
no tacos.
No,
There's
God, no.
no like salsa dancing and
There
it's
it
all
there can
steak
be
and potatoes.
salsa, there can be salsa dancing and cumbia and other kinda dancing, but, yes,
Yeah, it's Europe.
kind of.
It's Germany.
It is so not Germany. Oh, no,
It's like Germany.
no,
If Germany and like Brazil had a
no,
baby,
no, it's like Spain.
it's like
Spain
Spain.
and
Yeah,
Italy. It's exactly like Spain and Italy
yeah,
with a Spanish twist on it, like a
yeah.
further
With
South
a
American
with a
twist.
German escaped Nazi
Well, that's
twist.
down south. We didn't even I've been there, but you haven't been down that far. But even then, it's not like that.
Yeah, no. Argentina is amazing, and it is. It's a slower pace. At least it was back then,
Mhm.
and much more, like you say about spending time with people was
Mhm.
like the currency,
Yeah.
or the not the currency, but that was like the goal.
Yeah.
And you're right. In America, it's much more. It's the grind. It's you got to get up and go to work and pay the bills and try and get ahead, and you're not like seeing people and hanging out is more ancillary. And down
Yeah.
there, that is the point.
You almost have to carve out time for that here versus there, it's built into the system.
Yeah, no, 100%. Now, politically speaking, I know in the 80s, was it the 80s in Argentina or was it I think it was the 80s. They had the revolution.
The coup?
Yeah, the coup.
I don't know the dates.
It was before you moved down there. You would have moved down there in the 90s,
Yeah, I
late
moved
80s,
down
early
in
90s.
91, 92, 90, 90. I think 90,
Yeah,
maybe
and I
89.
think that was like the 70s, maybe
Yeah,
the
there was
70s and
that
early
big giant
80s.
coup where tons of people died. It was terrible.
Now was that like a class type revolution, like what you were
I
describing?
don't know enough about it. I do know the military took over. I do know from people that grew up around it, like their parents, like it actually the culture of being scared of the police is very active. Like it felt I remember when I moved from down there to up here, down there, you don't talk to the police. They're not your friend. You don't approach them. You don't do anything to get their attention because they're not safe. Because that's left over from the military coup days where they would literally take you away and they call them the disappeared for a reason because people would just disappear. If you didn't have your ID on you, you would just be gone and nobody would ever hear from you again and you were dead. And so that happened to millions of people.
Jesus.
And so, like, I remember even from down there when I came up here, I remember when I saw the cops, like, the first time I kinda, like I was like, "Ugh, that's terrifying," and then you became one.
Who says God doesn't have a sense of humor?
Now I feel fine, but then especially, like, even the military, it's funny because then you did that too, which is it's just kind of ironic because when you're driving around there and the military come out, you don't approach, you walk on the I always walked on the other side of the street. I didn't wanna be close to them because it's not safe at all.
Yeah.
And it's not that they actually did anything. It's not okay, back then in the coup time, it was horrific, and it's not that that actually continued per se. It's just that that's the culture that got passed down because everybody knew if you didn't have your ID on you and somebody wanted to pull you over, they would take you and you were gone. You were killed.
Yeah, I don't think Americans appreciate how different like
They
things
don't
are
have
in
a
other
clue.
countries.
They don't have a freaking clue what it's like to know that you really don't have anybody standing by your side.
No, and there's no Bill of Rights, and
No.
there's no
Well, I mean, there are bills of rights. It just doesn't mean that they're abided by. Like, you
yeah.
have to enforce them, and if the people enforcing them are also the bad guys, it kind of feels, and to me personally, it kind of feels like a lot of what's going on in our government right now. It feels like that, and maybe that's why I'm sensitive to it.
Huh, yeah, you do have a very
I'm very, very like,
visceral
ugh.
reaction, so unpack that. What do you
Well, it's
mean by
because
that?
of that. It's because I feel like if they're not following the due process, they're not acting without bias. They're acting on an agenda of hate. I've seen that.
Oh, okay.
And it's the hate that drives it, and it's just, like, terrifying.
What do you hate is driving what now in your mind?
Immigration, like, the immigration, the things against LGBTQ and that whole community, to me, that was ridiculous. Like, why remove them from their rights?
Now, I didn't catch that part.
So, he took them from, so you know how you have, the things where you can't discriminate against certain peoples, right? As
Yeah.
laws, because there was discrimination against people, and I know that because in real estate, a lot of our rules are about that, because back in the day before these rules were around, it was like the wild, wild west, and if you didn't like somebody because of their color, their religion, their sexuality, or whatever, you could harm them and have no recourse to protect them. You could do whatever you wanted. And so now when they took I'm gonna say all the initials wrong because I'm really bad at words. My bad. Love you. But when they made them not a protected class, once again, that opens them up to harm. Like,
Hmm.
even in real estate, I can see how that can apply in real estate and be a bad thing. And I just don't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. That's another one of those. It would be interesting to look into because I don't even that when you said it, it was news to me. I don't know. I don't know why that is or isn't or
I don't know why. So it means that if I don't know, like in my world, what it means is that I don't know, I'm trying to figure out a good scenario to explain it. It's a little tricky, but if my sellers wanted to say, I don't want to sell this house to a gay couple, they can refuse to sell the house to a gay couple just based on their sexuality preferences.
but I wonder though, like how much of like the government they can only control so much. Like for instance, back when Obama was in office, one of his big things was he wanted to raise the minimum wage, right?
Mhm.
Well, he went through and raised the minimum wage, but it wasn't like he could actually raise the minimum wage for everybody. It was just like for federal employees, or
Mhm.
it was something like that. It was like it's like everyone thought, oh, he raised it, but then it was like, wait a minute, why am I still making this amount of money? It's like, well, because the president can't actually touch all those things. They can set a standard for what they are in charge of and hope that people follow
Mhm.
suit. And so I don't know the LGBTQ stuff. I don't know if that has become state law. Like, is it a state by state thing? Could
At
could the you know what I'm saying? Like could the president,
there well, I'm
unless it was enacted, unless whoever enacted it to begin with, it was just like an executive order, and then of
but
course
everything on protected classes is gonna fall along something like that. Like, there's different laws that are passed.
I would think a lot of that stuff would have been like legislated by the courts. I would think it'd be based off court decisions. That's just my guess.
Well, yeah, exactly, but those are the laws that we have to study in real estate. Is like they fall under the protected classes, so therefore people can't discriminate. Like if they want to get a loan, they can't be discriminated against because of that.
Yeah.
So that used to happen.
No, 100%. But I'm just saying, like, I would imagine that's like a Georgia state law thing. There's like,
No, 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 that's federal. Because on the real estate side, we have to study the federal, and it doesn't matter what state you're in. These are the protected classes,
hmm.
regardless of state.
So then it's possible that really could have changed.
Yes, absolutely. That did change. You can fact check me on that one. How about that? I think you should have a whole podcast of fact checking the whole podcast that you've done before and be like, that was wrong. That was right.
Well, most of it's nonsense anyway. So it doesn't really need to be fact checked.
Okay. But I will say in that situation, to me, once again, I'm like, well, I feel like our government is I don't know, a messenger of hate at that point. Like, why would we take away somebody's protected right?
Yeah. Okay. So let me explore the other side of this, because this is interesting, and I don't know if it has anything to do with it. But did you ever hear the examples of like a business that the example, I don't know where it was, but it was like this little mom and pop cake
Yeah,
store,
the
and
bakery.
they
Yeah.
made cakes for like weddings
Mhm.
and stuff. And I think it was a gay couple that wanted them to make their cake for their
Mhm.
wedding, and the owners were like, we don't really feel comfortable with that. And then the couple sued them and basically put them out of business
Mhm.
because of whatever rules and whatever laws. And of
Yeah.
course, it was a big thing, and I don't know how it resolved. I think it resolved with them losing their business. And so I wonder if that's like the other side of this. It's like, well, maybe because that doesn't seem right to me either. Like I think people should be able to live how they want to live, but if you can cause someone to lose their livelihood over it, that doesn't seem right to me. Just because they
And
don't,
I understand
you know what
that,
I'm
but
saying?
then at the same time, I think it's gone so far, it's like, okay, well, you lost all the rights. Now people can be discriminatory against you, and that is a form of discrimination. Like, how did it okay, I get it. At the same
I,
time, how did it hurt the bakery people to make a cake that has 2 males on it?
yeah, I think it was two chicks, but
2 chicks,
I
whatever. Males, chicks, whatever it is.
I mean, it didn't. I mean, like for me, if I mean, I wouldn't care, I wouldn't think twice about it, but these guys did. And so it's that weird, tricky question.
Where's the
Where do
line?
you draw the line? Because I think the gay couple has every right to get married and to do their thing
Yeah,
and like anybody else. But then I also think that the owners of the bakery, but okay, I was gonna say I think they have the right to feel how they feel, but then if it were like a race thing, like the owners of the bakery were like, well, we don't really agree with like black people, then I'd be like, what the fuck, like,
I know, exactly,
yeah,
that's what I'm saying, like, it kinda
yeah,
blows
when
down to
you
that, or you're in a wheelchair, sorry, we don't do wheelchair people cakes.
wheelchairs are so
That's
hard to with the frosting
like, they're
and
so like, why would you be I don't understand discrimination on that point, I'm like, "Why do
yeah,
you care?"
yeah. I've often thought about this, like what is, because for us with our age and our generation and stuff, we look at the race thing and we're like, how was that ever even an issue to
Yeah,
begin
yeah, it's
with?
so dumb.
And then, but I always wonder, like in 50 years from now, what are
It's gonna
our
be like, why do
grandkids going to
people
be
care about
saying?
people's sexuality and what they're attracted to?
Yeah,
Because really, is that my business?
no,
No. I
no,
mean, this is me. I'm like, I don't care. Like,
yeah.
why?
Well, I don't care either, but like I say, I'm like arguing it out loud or thinking, I'm talking it out like, well, the owners of the business should have the right to feel how they feel, but then it's like, where do you draw the line on
And
that?
if it's based on religion, okay, let's
Which
pretend,
I think
right?
I think that's how they argued it. It was
Yeah,
against their
it's
religion.
but then what if your religion says you're allowed to hate, women? Or what if your religion says you're allowed to hate people of a certain color or people that speak a different language? Like, where is that line drawn? Because religion doesn't have it's like its own free for all. You know what I mean? Its own I don't know, it's kinda crazy.
Yeah, and I have no idea. I have no
I
idea how
think if
that.
people focus on being loving versus being religious or being right in the eyes of God the way they think, I think it just would change the world.
Yeah. Well, it really does feel like it boiled life almost, if you wanted to distill it down, or at least how you live your life, boils down to choosing love
Mhm.
or choosing fear.
Yeah. And in that case, I mean, I can't speak to them, but I know a lot of people like that. They would be feared they would in that case, a lot of people would be like, "Well, I don't agree with their lifestyle," which honestly, if they had to approve everybody that they made a cake for, they'd be like, "Well, did you have sex before marriage?" Like, they're gonna have to go all the way back. "How many times do you masturbate?" Like,
Here's our questionnaire.
fill it out, and if you're 100%, then we'll make you a cake. I mean, if they're gonna fall in line with their religious things, they're gonna have to go all the way. And
Honey,
I'm
you
like, "That's
can't say
ridiculous."
masturbate on my
Oh,
show.
sorry. Master, Master Wank, is that better?
Man, man.
I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make sense to me
No, no, I
because
no.
they draw their lines on dumb, dumb things.
Yeah. No, no, I get what you mean.
And now here's my caveat. If they knew they were murderers, like, is that where it ends? Like, where does this line end?
Yeah. No, it's a good and I suppose you could also argue the side of it's like, well, you're a business, you're a public business.
Yeah,
So like you like it's not like they just do it for friends and family, out of their
they're
house.
making money, they're a business, they're a registered business. So then as a registered business, what are the responsibilities that you have? You probably shouldn't discriminate against people you don't agree with.
Yeah. And like I say, I think it's bullshit to begin with. I don't think you should care. I think like you should say
Yeah.
I'm a business and like like hey let's do maybe you got to find a different store because where you currently buy your little bride and groom for the top of the cake doesn't sell a bride and a groom or doesn't
Mhm.
sell two grooms or two brides and just go jump on
Yeah.
Amazon and
Yeah, and
you
order the things, which they do have them.
order a box of each.
They have them because of those things.
Yeah, and
So
I personally don't see it, but then I'm like, I'm really, I'm nervous about the government getting involved. Period. I don't,
I know.
I
You got
don't like
your
that.
boomer
Yeah,
scam.
boomer scams. Well, I just like that. There's so many things that I might have a certain view on, but I would not want the government. I don't want the government to agree with me or disagree. I want them to stay out of it.
But maybe that's the difference in business versus your personal life. Like your personal life, you live whatever, the government doesn't really get involved unless you're harming someone. I think they have a right to get involved at that point. But as a business, then I do feel like you're going to have to follow some rules.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but would the market not just decide that? You know what I'm saying? Like if because I think and I don't remember what year that was. We could be talking about something that's,
Oh, it's way old.
10 years old. So
Maybe 15.
yeah, so no it's
Like it's old.
nothing happening these days, but it's a great example.
Well, we don't know that it's not happening these days. I would say it does happen these days. I think it's just more discreet.
Is that what NPR told you?
That's what NPR said.
I mean, maybe. I don't know, but I would think the marketplace could sort it out. Because like if you're name whatever thing whatever the issue is you go and the business is like hey I don't feel comfortable I don't agree with your lifestyle I would think that as soon as that word got out the market
The market would change.
would
Then the people of
determine
those, preferences would go somewhere else, which is great that they have those if they had the options to do that, if they had an option for that. But okay, then think about how segmented that makes our community feel. How does that benefit our community to have okay, if you're of this orientation, you go here. If you're of this orientation, you go here. If you're I mean, no wonder everybody's kind of fucked up in the head a little bit
well no that I think that's terrible but I think that if it comes down to a conflict that's that intense I just feel like
over the fact that it's just it's silly that it would be that intense to begin with.
no, I agree, but I'm just saying that when the government gets involved and starts solving problems,
Well, the government didn't get
you
involved,
don't
it was the courts.
that's the government.
Well, in essence, but the government didn't come down on them, they took it to the court.
Yeah, man, I really I should have I wish I knew more about this case because we could be saying half
Oh,
this
yeah.
stuff
Oh,
wrong.
of course, of course. So, do you wanna
Um,
move on? What are we talking about next? Yay.
yeah, I like the speculation. I don't know. I have a computer in front of me, but I don't feel
I
like
don't
I could ask chat
oh,
see
there
what
we
he
go.
thinks about it.
Oh god.
So okay, so then where do you I have to ask since you did grow up a missionary kid,
Mhm.
where you at right now?
About
About religion, about
oh.
God.
Oh, God is definitely real, in my opinion. Um, I'm not gonna fight somebody that feels differently.
Not gonna take
Uh,
him to court.
no, won't take him to court. I won't take him to the
Well,
WFC
you can't
wrestling
now.
thing either, or whatever that is. And I won't think poorly of them because that's everybody has their journey. I would say my views personally on how God shows up in the world are probably not very in line with Western Christian culture because honestly I can't stand that culture. So yeah,
Ugh.
yeah.
You're referring to the righteous gemstones portrayal,
No, well, not even that far to be
which is an
honest.
amazing show.
Oh, it's a great show, but it's not even that far. It's the mega church thing. It's horrible.
Horrible.
Yes. I feel like in my head, oh, this is crazy, but in my head, Um, how would I put it? Oh, sorry, hit the mic. Um, in my head, I see this, I think in comics sometime, and in my head, I don't know, with the mega church, it feels like the woman is sacrificed.
Really? Like even
Yes.
these days?
Oh, even more so these days because it's hidden and it's, tweaked to where it looks like it's like the woman is serving her family, but
Hmm.
she's limited on becoming who she's meant to be.
Well, is that because she can't be the pastor
No, 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 she can't be in leadership
at all?
because at all. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I don't mean to cut you or
Oh, no, no, this
interrupt,
is great. I love this
but,
stuff.
we should probably at some point, not now because I need to read it, but go over that book,
Oh, jeez.
the
Yes. Well,
biblical
that's probably what I'm talking about a
womanhood
lot.
book.
So, yes, you need to read it. It's so good.
Now, I was listening to it.
It's so good. But no, I feel like the women are sacrificed. You can't have your own life. Like literally it's all about having babies and serving men.
But having babies is important because we have a birth rate problem.
Great.
But it shouldn't be all about that.
Well, it's up to the woman like what they do, they want to have kids? Do they not want to have kids? And instead of feeling like it's their obligation.
Yeah,
Cuz
no, I
then we
mean,
then we go back into the handmaid's tale type thing and that's just some creepy shit right there.
I didn't watch
Which
that.
oh, I have to watch it in very small doses cuz it pisses me off cuz I can relate to all of it. It is horrific.
Yeah. Well, there it's so weird. No, it's not weird at all. I, the idea because government is like this, religion is like this. People in power tend to not want to give up that power.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
when you're in power, you tend to make little rules and tweaks along the way to make sure that nobody can come up and take that power away from you. And to
Exactly.
make sure that who is getting it next are the people that you want to get it next.
Exactly.
And so yeah, I've never understood the woman thing in I mean I know all religions aren't like that, but lots of
Very
mainline
few
religions.
religions aren't down on women like to like oppress them. I don't know that I can think of one off the top of my head that isn't oppressive to women.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean
I
we're
mean, I don't know all about religion, so I'm just like in the Western world, how about that? I don't see any religion being super like pro women power.
well, I mean, is it the Methodist or the Presbyterian churches that have
Th-
women
they
pastors now?
do. Yeah, they do have leadership.
So there you go.
But it's not about the position. It's about the girls growing up with the sense of having power that it's okay, that they're not being molested all the time because now that's what happens.
I thought that was more of the boys getting. God, this is how are we getting onto this topic? Jeez. As I'm saying this, I'm like,
We can change the topic. It's fine. It's fine, but I just can't go. I'm like, mega churches. Nope. So that's where I'm at on God. God is love, and I will always embrace the love side of things and not a church or a person.
yeah, yeah. The mega church thing is that
It's creepy.
well, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, it's
They
not my bag. I
they
mean,
idolize the pastor.
yeah, that's yeah. I mean that is true. I mean, you have a handful of like rock stars at the top, and it is
It's
it's kind of like
gross. It is
what are we doing?
nothing like what the Bible talks
Yeah, what are
about.
we
If you're
doing
gonna go
here?
back, okay, I'm gonna use their
Yeah, but
own book.
it would be fun though. Like let's say you're in charge and you're like I'm a fucking rock star. Like look at me.
But what I'm
That'd be
saying though, it's
amazing.
like if you had to use their own book, the Bible, to say this is how we live their life, they're already throwing down all those things. They're like, no immigration, no helping poor people. Like if you throw the Beatitudes at them, they're not doing any of it.
Well, they're
And
doing
that
some of it.
the things that make them look good. I'm sorry. I'm in a very cynical place with the church. I love Jesus. That's sweet.
Sorry, this might have been a sore subject. Well,
It's just spicy, Rusty.
a
Just spicy.
little spice, a little extra crispy tonight. Yeah. All right. Well then we can steer. I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. Religion in general, I creeps me out. And I think there's good. I think churches provide really good community, and I-
Oh
and
yeah.
and I think it's important. But yeah, it's not totally my thing.
But and on that same note, like, I wouldn't mind like, I don't go right now because you're working Sunday and I don't wanna go by myself, but, like, there's certain churches that I'm like, I could handle this because I see the community and the heart, but it has to go through that filter for me.
Yeah.
It has to have a lot of community and a lot of heart before I'm gonna be like, "Okay." You know what I mean?
Yeah, it needs to be the right place, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you say, the mega churches can they're it's interesting. It's a weird
It's too
dynamic,
much. Once again, we're
you
going back
know?
to too much power in the hands of too few.
Yeah,
That's just the problem.
yeah. Like I say, I mean, they're having fun. They're rock stars. You see it.
They believe they are, yes. Not every single one, I'm not gonna even say every single one, it's just there's too many out there that are,
Yeah.
and it just makes it really gross,
Mm.
and I don't think it's impacting the world the way it could at all.
You know, do you think that God, like, there's so many things that if I were God, that I would change or I would do, and God doesn't do. Like you see people that are struggling, and I'd be like, well, I would, you like, okay, you see people like playing the lottery or whatever, like poor people that really, really, really could use it, but it doesn't. It's not like they're winning, right? People
Yeah.
that really would quote unquote deserve it, but it doesn't happen for them, and they just end up spending all their money that they don't really have to begin with on lottery tickets, right? So, do you think that God can't make them win or won't make them win?
Why are you asking me this? You just went off that subject.
I'm just curious what you think.
Do you want the truth?
It's something that I've been like thinking about lately, and I'm like, I
Wait,
wonder
do you
why.
think can't or won't
I
is what you said?
I mean, d- is there a third option?
Is it possible I don't know, but is it possible that that's just part of their journey that they choose to be on?
Well, I mean, I don't think they're choosing to be on that journey because their
Subconsciously.
journey sucks.
Subconsciously, they're wiring.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, that probably we all have limiting beliefs from the way that we're raised, and we all start at a different point. Obviously, if you start off, if your parents are rich, you're starting off at a much better point, at least from financial status, than if your parents are poor. Um, what was your question again?
I was just wondering, like, is it I guess, does it have to be I don't know how to explain it, but, like, is there an option where it's something that their subconscious is choosing for them,
I don't
so they
know.
learn through it?
That's I mean, maybe, but that sounds,
I know, it's hard to hear.
yeah.
It's hard to say. It's not like an easy thing.
It's like you're saying they're doing it to themselves.
Well, yeah, but not consciously. Because 'cause don't we all do things to ourselves subconsciously that aren't healthy for us until we realize that, "Oh, wait, that wasn't good. I need to change this."
Yeah, I mean, 100%. But I
Does it
mean,
fall under that
but
is what I
well,
mean.
right, but I'm okay. The reason I use the lottery example is because that's something that's outside of a person's control. It's more, I mean, I guess it's just numbers. It's math
Oh,
or the
okay, I was
odds.
being literal.
Yeah.
Okay. So you
Um,
mean overall, like somebody having bad things in their lives versus good things?
well, I guess I mean specifically the lottery because
Oh.
God, okay, I believe in God, and I believe God is very powerful and all those things. And so I guess in my mind I'm like, well, if God can do certain things, God could make someone win the lottery. I mean, I see poor people play the lottery all the time that could really use the money, but they never win, and they're probably never going to win because the odds are so astronomically low. But why not? Because God could be like, "Oh man, that lady really needs it."
I don't know. I don't know why God doesn't act like that because that seems very intentional. And though I do believe that there's intentionality when we pray to God for things, but I don't know that I have a thought on it, like a decisive thought on it, you know?
Yeah, well, there's
Because God answers certain prayers and other ones he doesn't. And so I'm just thinking I think that just falls in what the unknowns of the unknown, like it's a forever unknown in
it's an unknown
infinity.
unknown.
It's an unknown forever.
Thanks, Donald Rumsfeld. No, I mean, I guess it's not really a question that can be answered, but
So thank you for asking.
I mean, well, like we never got to the part where we met. We met in a religious college,
Oh,
religious
yes.
institution,
Another oppressive
and
institution.
yeah. Well, I didn't think so.
You were a man.
Sorry,
You didn't have to wear culottes.
I had to
You
wear a
could wear
tie.
whatever you wanted.
No, that's I had to shave and wear a tie. So
That is also true.
not anything I wanted. I would have been wearing cargo shorts and flip flops,
Truth.
but no, because back then, all well, they wouldn't allow certain questions, but one of the big
Oh.
questions was, uh, or the question or the statement was, God is either all loving or all powerful, but he can't be both. And I think that's kind of where
Oh,
the
like in because it's like a theory type thing or like a philosophy type thing in Bible
Yeah,
or
because I mean, and you
in
tease that
religion.
out because like either if God is all loving, then the bad shit that happens that we see all the time and that people experience on Earth, if God's all loving, then then it breaks God's heart for that to happen, and He would love for it not to happen, but it does outside of His control. Or He's all powerful and He's causing or allowing those bad things to happen.
But what if the idea of all powerful doesn't mean he's controlling of all things?
Well, if he's all powerful, then he's at least letting it happen.
Okay. I don't know. I think I fall on loving side then. I
Hmm.
think it fits into my worldview of like love versus fear constantly, just at play where you see everything kind of that way.
Yeah. I don't know where I fall on it, and that may not be. I mean, it might just be an interesting thought experiment.
I think it is because I don't know that we have an answer for it because I feel like God is so okay. The idea of God is so much bigger than we are able to think of consciously. So I just think it'd be really hard to nail it down to this concept.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, when you're dealing in extremes like that, I don't know if you're.
It's so complex. You can't really.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
most things aren't that extreme,
Yep.
but you are talking about God, and it is sort of boiling it down,
Hmm.
trying to figure out like why things happen. Are they being allowed to happen? Are they being done to us? I don't know.
I guess I don't even think about it like that, but that's more like I, I almost find that thought distracting. Like, is it my business to know why things happen, or is it my business to live my best life and to do what I know is right? And are those contrary? I don't know. I think one's a little distracting.
It's like-
I'm sorry.
no,
It's just the way I think of
it just reminds me of like one of your answers, like I don't need to know,
it's
or something
true.
like
Like
that.
some things I don't need to know because it's a waste of my time. Like I'm not gonna figure that out. So I'm not gonna spend my time or energy on it. I'm just gonna spend my time on energy on doing the things I know that are right for me to do and the things that are loving. And that's what I have control over. So I think it goes back to the serenity to accept the things that whatever, blah, 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 that saying.
Serenity now. I
Whatever.
think Kramer said that.
Yes, Kramer, back to Kramer. So I'm okay with accepting the fact that I don't need to know that.
You grew up in Argentina, which is a very I don't know. Would you characterize it as a different place spiritually than America? Like would it? My question is, do you think that the spirit world is real and tries to influence the our reality? And did you see it have more influence in Argentina versus America?
Ooh, okay. So where I grew up, there was a lot of I could feel bad spirit energy. So, I mean, I've had occasions where like I would wake up in the middle of the night feeling like a spirit was like pushing on my chest and I couldn't breathe, like weird stuff like that. Yeah,
What?
crazy things like that. And so I've had a lot of those experiences. Um And, I have no idea where it came from, what that is, but
Asthma?
asthma, I wish. Asthma that leaves at some point. But no, I don't know that it's different. I don't know that it's more open or anything like that. I don't know that I could characterize it that way.
But do you feel like there really is good, there really is evil in on a spiritual level, and that they're vying for influence?
I do believe that there's evil spirits or spirits that want not good, like not good things for us. And then I do believe in loving spirits. Now, their agendas and how they work, I don't know. I do believe you can call, personally, I believe that I can call on the good spirits or angels around me for help and support. I believe in that. But I've had a lot of experiences with negative spirits that were scary in different places in the States and in Argentina. Actually, a lot.
I don't know where I fall on that, because I for sure you could never convince me that that God doesn't exist, and that there's not more. There's no way you could ever convince me that when we die, that's it, and that it's just over. Now, I mean, I could be wrong, and I don't. I guess I would never know it until it happens. But I mean, personally, you would never convince me that's the case. I, and for a lot of my life, I did believe in angel. I guess angels and demons, if you just want to, call it like that. I don't know. I don't know where I land on that now at this point in my life. I mean, I guess if I believe in God, then I kind of have to believe in that.
I don't think so. I think, I wonder, I don't believe it in a Western culture sense. I believe,
Which is
like,
what?
okay, so we have our physical world that we're in.
Yeah.
I just feel like the spirit world lives just outside of that. And so for me, it's maybe, I don't know, people that have passed on that I've heard from, or weird things like that. I have weird experiences that are very not that I've asked for them. They've just happened to me and I'm like, oh, this is weird. I'm hearing from, our nephew or my grandmother or whatever. And I just hear in these spirit worlds. So I do believe, like with all of my heart, that we haven't measured what's on the outside of what we physically see. I feel like we're surrounded by energies and spirits. And I don't know that I don't know how to categorize them. I just know that some feel good and at peace and loving, and other ones are like, "No, you need to leave. You don't have permission to be here."
I yeah, I think that has to be true. Like from my point of view, I agree with you. It has to be true. Because I don't think that when we die, I don't think it's over. I think, and I don't know. Uh, that brings up the idea of like reincarnation.
Yeah.
I don't know where I land on that. I know for the first few hundred years, the
Mhm.
Christian church was like, oh yeah, that was just a normal. Everyone believed it.
Yeah.
It wasn't an issue, and then it sort of died off, or the idea of it died off, and I don't know why. I don't know where I fall on it, because if we do reincarnate, then it's like maybe you get comfortable with the idea that, okay, you lose a loved one, and you know that they're just with God, right? They're not in our reality, but they still are. But then we like to think of them as who we knew them. But if reincarnation is real, then when they go back to be with God, it's not really as what we knew them. It must be as how they were before they incarnated to begin with.
Well, that's like in a physical sense, but think about their soul. If you knew them, you know their soul. So maybe their outside looks different, but you still know their soul. So their soul is what you know.
Yeah, right. But I mean, if because people, I know you have, and I know other people have had, what they feel like is like contact with loved ones that have moved on. Like, you're seeing them as you remember them, not as
No,
like
no.
an orb or something.
Well,
I
no,
don't think.
no, no, it's not, that's not true. Like, in my case, I don't ever see a visual. What I see is an energy, not a face.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just like this weird knowing, or I hear a lot more than I see, so I'm more audio in that sense, and I hear their voices.
Interesting. Well, there's a it's funny, there's a book, it's the simulation hypothesis, and it's basically this really smart guy's take on how he thinks we're living in a simulation, but it really, and I think he grew up in India, and so I think his background, he's like Hindu.
Mhm,
I don't know if he's like a practicing Hindu or whatever you would call it, but that's sort of like his framework.
mhm,
And he says that what he feels like with the simulation, like he feels like we for sure are in a simulation, but it's more like what all the major world's religions have always been telling us,
mhm,
because all the major religions have their different version of us incarnating, living here for a while, and then when we die we go back to be with God.
mhm,
And that's essentially what he's saying, except I guess science is starting to catch up,
mhm.
and so there's more science that's showing things that we don't understand, that are kind of pointing to like, hey, maybe this makes sense. Like
Yeah.
Einstein had the theory of relativity, but there's limits to it.
Mhm,
And so then they've been trying to work on like a theory of everything, because there's obviously Einstein was brilliant, but if you his theories only get us so far. But then when you say, well, uh, we're living in a simulation, it apparently, for all the smart people, it answers all those questions.
mhm.
Like physicists can be like, oh yeah, that, like even the speed of light, with it being a constant. And I heard this broken down, and I'm not a physicist, so I can't repeat it, but basically it's as if the speed of light, he was say this physicist was saying, yeah, we will never break the speed of light, because it's essentially the video game. It's
Mm.
the constant that this reality is projected in, and you can't jump,
You
a
can't jump out of the
character.
game.
Yeah, a character
Yeah,
can't jump out of the video game, and that's
yeah.
essentially what we're in.
And I don't know why that would alarm so many people, to be honest, the simulation theory, because it's because that's what, like you say, all major religions have that as their concept, as their main foundational concept. They just don't call it a simulation theory.
Yeah, they don't call it a video game.
And they think of God the creator. You're born here on earth to do some mission, right? Some purpose, and then you leave to be back with God again. They just don't view it in the light. It, like, dehumanizes. I feel like it feels dehumanizing to call it a simulation or out of your control. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, no, I do know what you mean, and it honestly, it was disconcerting to me at first, but then the more I
Really?
thought about it, yeah, it really was. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, he's right. It is basically that's basically what I've kind of always believed, from being in and out of church when I was
Yeah.
little and stuff, and I've always believed in God, and so essentially that's what we're talking about. And this, I don't know, this might sound awful, but I was thinking about this a few days ago, and sometimes a lot of the things that are happening in the world, uh, if you really are aware of what's happening in the world, even here in our country, but all over the world, it's some things are
Yeah, really messed up.
fucking horrible,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
beyond what we could even
Yeah.
imagine. And in a weird way, if this was a simulation, there's almost a little bit of comfort in that.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. Does that make any sense? Like,
I mean,
it
kind of.
doesn't make it less awful. I
No.
just, it's like there's just certain atrocities that I can't even like wrap my mind around,
Mhm.
because like I've seen some horrible shit,
Yeah.
but not like that.
Yeah.
And and you just feel like, why would that even ever be allowed to happen, and how
But
to,
then I go back to, why would it be allowed in a simulation anyway? Like, I don't, another
yeah.
question that I can't answer
Yeah,
there.
that's true. But I mean, I guess if you really believe that we are just spirits inhabiting these bodies, and that eventually
We
even the
come out.
people that go through these horrible things, when they go back to be with God, it's like, okay, cool. Well, and there's a certain idea that you even choose that,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah, there is.
also,
I know. It's so complicated and so crazy. All of that is. But I don't know.
No, it is because I think I actually did an episode on human design,
Oh, yeah?
sort of like but I think it was terrible because it was just basically just me spitballing about like, well, this might be right, maybe not,
I love it.
you know,
That's
and
funny.
and so,
Mm.
but that's one of the concepts that we've spoken about
Oh, yeah.
is that with human design, basically your soul is with God.
Well, I don't know that that's human design per se. That's more like a different human design is more, like how your natal chart influenced the who you are. Uh, that other concept is a little different. It's more like I don't know what it's called. I don't know. But it's like the idea that your soul's in its soul space, right? Where all the do you have the book that talks about how people have these experiences where they die and they come back to life, they go to this soul space. That is like the one constant over all these like 4 different books, hundreds and hundreds of people that have died and come back to Earth. Um, they have a near death experience. They go to this soul space and they all have that in common. And so the idea is that that soul space is where you're at first. You have your soul tribe, your people that are in this soul journey with you. You're learning the same things. And then you say, okay, this is what I'm going to learn this time around. I'm going to go to Earth and I'm going to learn this and I'm going to do this. And it puts you into this, path. And then you go back and you repeat and go back and repeat. And it's something that you have control over. Now, I have no idea how that pans out for people that are living in horrible circumstances. I would hate to, like once again, I don't need to know that. I can't dwell on that forever because it just doesn't, I can't solve that. I
I,
know my limits.
I just kept thinking Soul Train when you kept saying
Soul
Soul Place.
Train, is that this one?
No, okay, yeah, so then I guess that's a little correction from episode whatever number that
Oh,
was. Because I
oh,
was
okay.
like,
I
yeah,
didn't know how that's
human
how you
design
did.
says this. Well, yeah, that was April just talking shit. Sorry. But it's a cool concept
Yeah.
that you sort of choose.
It kind of honestly what it does, even if it's, I don't even know if it matters if it's true, but if you can embrace it and use it as a healing tool to know that the things in your life you have chosen for yourself, it makes you not feel like a victim. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need to know I wasn't a victim. I'm choosing not to be a victim. That happened in my life. It's something I chose for myself and I can choose to learn from it and therefore make something of it.
I like
So I think
that.
that's how I use it.
I like that. Yeah, there's almost nothing more toxic than feeling victimized.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
you know, feeling victimized by a person or your
Hmm.
circumstances or even yourself. Like, man, why do I keep making these fucked up decisions?
Yeah.
Which I guess if you're feeling victimized like that, it might be like your circumstances or something. But yeah, it's very toxic,
Hmm.
and it robs you of your like power.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What are you looking at?
I was just looking at your little screen thing.
You look at it. Yeah, weird, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's still recording. I hope it's recording.
Oh no. It's
This could
crazy.
all be for naught.
Okay, what's next?
What's next? Well, I mean, what do you want to talk about? I feel like
Oh, don't ask me that.
I've
No,
fired
no.
a lot of questions at
No,
you so
that's the how
far.
I roll. Everything is in my head and it won't pop out unless you ask a question. It's like
Really?
when you do that lottery scratch thing.
Lottery scratch
You know, when
thing.
you scratch the thing and then you see the number underneath it? That's what I'm like. The question is the scratching,
So
and then I'm
so
like,
you're my lottery ticket.
and don't forget it.
Well, okay. I hate to. Okay, I'm not trying to get political.
Oh, but
All
you
right.
love it.
I mean, I do love politics. Um, since you are a real estate professional, where the heck, i- where are we going this year? Like with the real estate market, interest rates, is
Oh, our poor
everything.
babies. Um, I feel bad for buyers because the interest rates are still higher. They're not bad. I mean, they're like in high 6, 7. Not over the 30-year average, that's like normal.
Yeah.
So totally normal. But, you know how the psychology of people is that they remember what was and they want that to apply to them, or they don't want that to apply to them if it was something bad. And so that lives in their subconscious or in their conscious that interest rates used to be 2 and 3%. So I'm getting screwed now that I'm paying 7%. Versus before all that, everybody's like 7%. Oh my God, this is amazing. It's not 18% because that's what it used to be. So it's all relative to what people know. So, but I do feel bad for buyers in that sense. I don't know, and I can't really speak to it, but I do not believe that the wages have gone up as much in ratio compared to how the housing prices have gone up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I would say they've not at all.
So, like, we had 2020, 2021, 2022 that pretty much the housing prices went up about anywhere from 15% a year to 20% a year or a little bit more in some cases. And so, like, how do you keep up with that? That's crazy. And a lot of buyers don't know you don't need 20% to bat down, whatever, there's all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know how we're ever going to be affordable again.
I well, that's the big question. I know. Oh man, this was before the elections. This was a year or so ago, and a little bit more. Biden had said some things about it, and Jerome Powell had said some things about it. I think he was giving a speech at like a college graduation, and he was saying, don't buy houses just yet. Give us some time to bring housing prices down."
But how would they do that? Because it's not like they brought them up.
No, they brought him up
Well,
because they were printing money like
well,
crazy and giving it to all their
they
cronies.
did print money, yes. They did lower the federal interest rate, but that's not really how the mortgage interest rate comes about. That's more based on the bond market. But so they did have an impact on it, but they didn't set out to raise the home prices. What they did is raise all the prices all the way around of all the things.
Yeah,
So it wasn't
everything.
directly related to home prices. So then how are they going to lower just the home prices? What would they do?
Well, well, I can tell you one thing they did was they sent the DOJ after realtors.
That didn't lower the home
I
prices.
know, but that's the government.
But
That's
that
why I hate the government because
but
they don't know what they're talking. That
that
that was
doesn't
their
affect
master plan.
their
Like,
master plan was to tell sellers, "Hey, sellers, now instead of paying 6% to both the buyer's agent and the realtor's agent, now you get to keep 3% more of that for yourself."
yeah, as if agents' commission were the reason home prices.
It has
You
nothing
know,
to do with that. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it just like ignore the fact that we printed however many billions of dollars and it was the biggest transfer of wealth in human
Yeah.
history, and it didn't go to the American people. It
No.
went all over the world to make sure that certain people stayed in power. Like, that's not what caused prices to go up. It was realtors.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think it's funny when they talk about bringing down home prices, but yet what's going to bring down home prices is builders being able to build homes affordably. And how are they going to do that now with the extra tariffs and stuff? That just makes prices go up.
Where are we at on the tariffs?
I don't know. I thought they just put out a new tariff to Canada and Mexico for some other little thing for steel or maybe I don't know.
Hmm.
There's some new, this is where Hunter would know, but like I don't know exactly where we're at on it. I just know that tariffs don't help prices come down.
Yeah, tariffs are. I heard a really good commentary on this. Basically, tariffs are great as tariffs can be great as a bargaining chip as long as it works. But if it doesn't work and you actually put them into place, it's like punching yourself in the face,
Yep.
but also punching your whoever you're tariffing, it's also
Mhm.
punching them in the face too.
Yeah.
It's not good at all.
I don't
But if
I
it works, it's good. Does
if
that
it
make
if it
sense?
causes them to back down on doing something, that's great,
Exactly.
but
But if
that's
they
such
call
a
your bluff,
risky
yeah.
we're already economically our people are already Americans as a whole just are already struggling. Why would they do that? Such lack of
Yeah.
consideration for the normal people.
Well, but if it works and it
It's too risky
yeah.
because they don't have anything to lose.
Yeah. It's all about the economy. Well, okay, so speaking of home prices, that's that really you can see it even like in the Metro Atlanta area. There are actually entire developments that are being built.
Mhm.
Brand new homes, nice homes, huge neighborhoods, and you cannot buy a single home because it's completely rental.
Oh, yes.
And that's insane. When I first saw that, of course, I mean, I'm not a realtor, you are, and you probably already knew about that. But I drove by one, and I was like, I couldn't believe what I saw. I'm like, wait a minute, you cannot buy them.
Mhm.
They just know that, hey, most people can't afford these because prices keep going up, and we're just gonna. It's some huge hedge fund or something
Exactly.
with
It's
the
investors.
money.
It's
It's
a
investors.
huge investment, people that are coming in and they know they can make money on the rental side, which is great. But also if you I mean, there's could be a pro to it in a sense, and I know this is probably not a popular opinion, but a lot of those go depending on where you're at, like we're in our area, they're like 2,200 or 2,400 a month. Well, that's cheaper than a mortgage for the same house. And so
Yeah.
it provides a space for somebody to live
No, it does, and it's probably a great thing. But then,
on the con
it's
side.
indicative of a larger problem.
Exactly. It's indicative of a not healthy economy.
Yeah, because if you don't already own a home, the generations that are growing up now, it's like, you know, it could get to a point at which they just can't.
Yeah.
They just can't own one.
Well, I believe the options are there. I just think they have to figure out, okay, you got to get your credit in order. You got to start learning how to save money. Not that you're going to save, you need to learn how to save some money and then just be patient. So it's a whole game. It's not like an easy process right now. It's like it's a whole game. You got to put back money over time, let it do its
Hmm.
thing, and then you have to learn how to see what programs are out there because there are programs out there for first time home buyers that are like grants. Like one of our lenders has like a depending on where they're coming from, they can buy and have like $6,000 towards their closing costs. So that's less money out of their pocket.
Hmm.
And most of the time when they can be approved to rent at that rate, they can be approved to buy. At least it's very similar. So then it's all a matter of them learning how much money do I need to put back for this? Or just kind of get used to paying that extra and having that extra stored away. So
Yeah.
it's out there. The options out there. I just think they have to work so much harder at it. It's not like how it was when we first bought our first house. I think it was 70 grand.
No, it was 42.
Even better. Like for the love. I mean, you can't even buy a piece of shit for that. Like
Potty mouth. No, yeah, it was 41 or 42.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Can
and
you
then
imagine had we held on to that and just
oh
rented it?
man. Yeah, that would be great. But when we even
Huh.
we but that was already. Well, no, we sold it. No, 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 we sold it right before
We
the
sold it
crash.
right before it crashed.
Just
I
because I
mean,
have impeccable timing, and I'm a real estate genius,
under
and
your hat.
yeah, no, no, we got so like it just happened to have moved from there to here, and happened to be changing jobs at that time, and so yeah,
We lucked out.
we lucked out. But even in that, we only owned it for what
3 years.
3 or 4 years, and we
Mhm.
established equity
Yeah.
in it during that
Yeah, I think
time.
about 30 grand.
Yeah, we made some money when we
Mhm.
sold. I couldn't believe I just figured we were just walking away even if that.
Well, because that used
And
to be the old myth is that well, and now we have to look at the numbers again because the interest rates are where they're at with the home prices, but it used to be you never sold a home after 3 years because you're losing money.
yeah.
Now it in the past years, it hasn't been quite like that. There was an opportunity to make money because again, the house was going up in price 20% almost or something close to that, right? But now it is now we have to revisit those numbers because the interest rate's high again. And so that can change that whole dynamic again.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I read an article a couple of years ago, and I kind of didn't believe it, but it was someone saying that America could become a nation of renters, and that was the big fear. Apparent that was like the forecast 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I could see that. And then within probably 6 months or a year, I started to see that
Hmm.
there's more than one development, but I drove past the one development that was going to be all renters, and I remember that article, and I
But
was like,
here's the thing,
wow,
the pro to that is not popular opinion again. Once again, it gives somebody a place to go. So somebody who does because there aren't enough units out there for the people. There aren't this is why the home prices are where they're at because we are nowhere near close to matching the demand of the people that want to buy homes at all. Like millions and millions and millions of under the homes needed for the community of people that are growing up and at the age where they want to buy a home. So that what the positive is that this rental house, the new construction ones, they do have higher requirements to get in. They're not easy to qualify for. So I think it sets a habit for those people that are learning how to rent there so that way they can prepare to buy a home. So it helps them create habits so that way, okay, if I'm having to pay this and I have to qualify for this and I can rent here, then I can at one point buy a home because it's a very similar process. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah. Yeah,
So it kinda creates it paves the road for them, like, this is what it looks like. So instead of going straight to buying a home, if that's not what you can do this.
that makes sense. And kids, just make sure you're working on having a fantastic income.
Always, like, literally always. It's all about the money you make and the money you keep.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder I wonder what AI is gonna do, like, AI and just, I guess, technology in general. Speaking of kids, we have teenagers and,
I think if they learn how to use it and incorporate it, because then what happens is they can do so much more than the person that's not incorporating it. So therefore, they can get paid a higher wage for what they're doing. So I think it's like everything in technology, it's just pivoting with what's new,
yeah.
adopting, being an early adopter and trying to figure out how do I use this in my business or how can I use this skill? Because I mean that's how you make money is being skilled.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of jobs created. I mean, like, if you're if you're younger, teens and 20s, you're gonna ride that disruptive wave a lot better,
Yes. Well,
but
no, you can be older too. That's a choice. Don't you think? It's
well,
a mental
yeah, but I mean,
choice?
yeah, it is, but I mean, like, as the for me, and I spoke with Chuck about this
Yeah.
a few episodes ago, and he was saying that, like, him, and where he's
He's in it.
yeah, he's in it. I mean, that's what he does for
Yeah.
IBM, and he was saying that the big focus right now is agentic AI, and it's building AIs that are literal agents that can do, do jobs
Mhm.
freely. Um, and so as those get better and better, they're saying that within 2 or 3 years they'll have agent AIs that can do basically everything a remote worker can do. And so, I mean, at that point, is how many companies are going to continue to employ humans? Especially
Yeah.
with the remote work thing we've got going since COVID. Now, that seems like a stretch to me that they could do everything that a remote worker can do. I doubt that, but they might get close.
Well, and then at that point, they would probably need a manager.
Right. But
Somebody would need to manage them.
right, but yeah, and that's kind of what I've read and what I've heard. But I mean, if you're just let's say a company has 100 remote workers and they can buy these agents, so they replace 100 remote workers with 100 agents. Those 100 employees that were just replaced aren't going to be turned into managers. Maybe a few,
Mhm.
maybe 10 or 20%, and then the rest of them, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's the
This is
fear.
where being self-employed kinda feels good.
Yeah, yeah, because from your point of view, agentic AI is a godsend.
I would love to have
You
an
know,
agent AI that does so many other things I don't really have time to do because there's not enough time in my day to do what I'm supposed to be doing. It just
yeah,
doesn't it's not how it works.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, how are you liking chat?
I
Because
like it.
you
I
have
use
the
it for
paid.
yeah, I have the paid one, but I use it right now I'm just playing with it to kind of figure it out. So one of the things I did like for business was putting in I just this was just fun to me to do. So I was having fun with it and I was putting in my business partner's natal chart, my natal chart and I said come up with a business model that reflects what's in our natal charts to tell me how to focus on setting up our business, like who does what and all the things, right? And it just came up with the whole plan based on our natal charts and our strengths and our weaknesses to say, okay, you're good at this. This is what you need to. This is what's not going to be exhausting to you, and this is what's not going to be exhausting to your business partner and this is how you can maneuver in this industry to create what you want to create for a business model for real estate. And so that was one way I did it. The other way I did it was talking about doing an expense plan. Like, how do we need to set up our business um, based on our expenses? Like, this is what we do. This is how we lead generate. This is how we do this, blah, 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 all the little things, right? And put together an expense plan or like a budget, so to speak. And I don't want it to exceed 15% of of our revenue, what's coming in. So that way, Kelly and I can get paid what we want to get paid out of our business. And it did that for me. Then another thing I did was ask it, okay, based on who my personality, my natal chart, and you could do this, like, if you know what your, Briggs-Myers are, like your personality, you could feed it that too, and based on that, what is the best way for me to, convert business? Or what is the best way for me to put myself out there and draw people and draw clients in? And it was really cool, everything that it gave to me. Yeah,
Okay,
very
okay.
fascinating.
That is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Mhm.
Okay. I've been using mine. I had remember like God, that's been like 10 years ago. I was writing that book
Oh,
and I
yeah.
never finished it. Well, it's still been just floating in my mind this
Uh-huh.
whole time. And so when I got it, I started this is what I do on like my commute back and forth to work is I literally will sit there and talk to it and it's like I'm speaking with a person
Mm.
and I'm literally just telling it all the ideas that I've had and we literally will sit there and talk about it and then it will ask me questions to kind of refine the idea
Mhm.
and it's just this like brainstorming session that is actually really helpful and the best part is it remembers everything. And
Yes.
so like about every week I can go through and say, "Hey, give me a summary. Where am I at now?"
Mhm.
And it will literally and I'll ask it like, "Hey, are you going to remember this so you can sort of keep track of all this?" And it's like, "Yes, that's what I do." And literally it can go through and give me the summary and it can format it however I want it to.
Mhm.
Um there's this YouTube series I haven't tried this yet, but he's a screenwriter. His name is
Mhm.
Andy Gurdat or something. He's a famous screenwriter in Hollywood now. He's probably getting ready to retire, but he has a YouTube series just basically passing on his craft and the way he writes and how to understand story and stuff. And so what I next thing I'm going to do is like I'm going to say, well, based on this YouTube video, can you help me break down my ideas with the structure he describes, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because
That's
I
great.
yeah, because I already know he can because he he has access to the internet because I can like podcast episodes that I've listened to from other channels. I can say, hey, can you give me a summary of that episode? And literally
Really?
he'll summarize the episode I was telling you about on Lex
Mhm.
Friedman.
Yeah.
And it was the two guys talking about DeepSeek,
Mhm.
that new Chinese
Yeah, the
AI
Chinese
that
one.
is like free and sort of disrupting everything. It's like a 5-hour long
Yeah.
episode. I listened to the whole thing. It took me a while, and and I was like, man, I would love to talk about that, but I should have took notes. And then I asked Chat. I was like, hey, can you give me just a summary
Mhm.
of that with like key moments and
Mhm.
quotations and stuff,
Yeah.
and he broke down the whole episode.
Yeah. One of the things I wanna do next with it is, try to figure out for it's funny because it does a really good job of asking questions, like, I'm trying to figure out how do I put, like, what my gift is out in the world, and if I can use it to help me kinda, coach myself in some of those areas so I can pull out what I'm actually trying to share and why it matters to me to share these things. So that's, like, my next project with it, but I have to sit there and, have time to spend on that.
Oh well, you should start writing your book.
I
With,
know that's what I
I
was
mean,
thinking, but I need to have I need to know that that's the right move for me, and so that's where
just
I
ask him; he'll tell you.
he knows all. It's like the Wizard of Oz. But, like, it's one of those things where I normally can coach myself pretty well, but I'm stuck here, and I'm like, "Oh, I need a coach, I need a coach, I need a coach," because I'm just kinda stuck in this one spot in my mental progression with all of this other stuff that I'm trying to accomplish, and it just hit me the other day, I think because you said that, about what you did, I'm like, "Oh, I guess I could use it for that." To help me kinda get over this little hump I'm in because 'cause I'm a little stuck on my thought process.
Yeah. I mean, I've not tried it yet, but I would imagine you could like whatever coaching book you
Mhm.
can think of, you could say, "Hey, can you reference this book
Yeah.
and and based on what I'm telling you, give me the advice, sh-
Yeah.
based on whatever coaching program or like
Yeah.
I don't know what is like a coaching book that you would
Mm.
reference."
The one that I'm reading, the coaching resource, can't remember the name. I know
Shout out.
it's white and blue and has a little pink on it, and it says Coaching Resource Handbook, maybe? I don't know. It's the coaching Bible, but I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. Yeah, you should try that
Yeah.
and let me know how it goes because
Yeah.
that would be incredible. Like, hey, based off this book,
Mhm.
ooh,
Yeah. No, that'd be fun.
I'm trying my best to like really embrace AI because obviously it's the next thing. It
Yeah.
is it's where everything's going, and like you know I can already feel. I mean, we're middle aged, but I can already feel how comfortable it would be to not progress.
Oh my gosh, I had this thoughts the same thing. I'm like, I wonder if people felt this way about, like, social media when it came
Yes,
out.
which I have not embraced at all. I missed that
Oh,
one
man.
completely.
So you are doing the jump from pre-social media to AI.
I'm going from
What do we say about
Nirvana to
Rusty?
Chat
It's all or
GPT.
nothing.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, I literally now granted my business was different and obviously now this podcast I post. But I mean, I'm sure there's some like Facebook wizard that could go check this, but I think I've probably changed my profile photo 3 or 4 times over the years, and that's probably the most I've posted like 1 or 2 things
That
ever.
is hilarious.
I just never got it. I just
You never got
never
into it.
never got into. Well, my job wouldn't at first my job wouldn't let. It was like if you post anything about the job, you're going to get, big
God,
trouble.
I wish I could post
Um
all the things about my job.
You
I need to post anonymously because
just
wow.
need a burner account.
Wow. I just need yes, I do. I need a place where I can just release the snarky because come on, people.
Yeah,
Jesus.
but it would be very comfortable to ignore all this, but I want to embrace it and try and like ride the wave.
Oh yeah, why not? Because it'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, and because I'm seeing the potential. I didn't I resisted it first. And Brian kind of opened my eyes to it when he was saying that he actually pays for the chat subscription so he has access.
Brian,
Yes.
our Brian.
Yes, and I was like, it was on our episode. It was on like episode I think 3 or something, and I was like, "You're the cheapest person I know.
I
Like,
know.
if you're paying for that, I'm gonna do that because it must be worth it." And he was like, "I don't Google things anymore. I just ask, chat." And I had the same experience like I was
Yeah,
telling you today. I mean, I was stuck, and it would have taken me probably 45 minutes to dig through
yeah.
videos and go download the Zoom user manual and like I mean, literally, it was he is it okay to call it a he, I
I
guess?
don't even know. I call it an it.
It chat
Yeah.
I call it chat. Literally gave me I was able to like, well, yeah, I'm doing this, but I'm getting this. And he's like, oh yeah, well, it's because of this. And make sure you create a new project. And then for some reason on this certain mode, the record button just doesn't record. You hit record and then play. And he was like
Oh,
explaining everything,
wow.
very detailed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How fun.
So I'm
It's a
seeing
fun new world.
yeah, it really is, and I'm seeing like, wow, this really it can cut down your learning curve,
Yeah.
and it can make you so much more productive. Like as an individual, as a creative, I'm seeing like, oh, this is incredible.
So what I want AI to do is create all my content and post all of it for me.
That's coming.
It is coming. Yeah. I wonder how much I'm gonna have to pay for it because that's where I'm gonna get cheap. But maybe
Well,
that'll be worth it if it does it all.
yeah, but my question is this: will it mean anything at the point at which you can just pay an AI to do it? Is it still going to have the
Well,
same
and
effect?
that's another one of my chats in there is my brand voice. And so I took a screenshot of my bio in my social media and like a little bit of it so it could read it. And I just said, "This is what our name is." Put that picture in there, and I said, "This is who I am. This is how I approach business. It's very, very, very serious, but lots and lots of fun." So, like Schlotchkes. Oh, I miss those sandwiches. Where their slogan was no,
You can put you.
there's no, no, no. Their slogan is funny name, serious sandwich. And that's how feel about my
Oh.
business. It's got a fun name because it's Twisted Peach Residential. But we
Shameless plug.
yeah, right. But we have fun doing business. It's got a fun name, but we do our job really, really well, and we take a lot very good care of our people. And so for me, it's always kind of been that approach. So I was talking to the chat thing about my brand voice and how do I show our brand voice in the copy that I'm putting for our content. And it was really, really creative. It had some really good ideas. And then I was like, wait, what does it mean about me that I'm not coming up with this on my own? But then also at the same time, like that isn't my role is not I'm not a marketer. Like, that's not me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's not what I went to school for.
That's accurate.
That is not my skill set. Like,
That
I
is
can do
technically a
it.
factual statement.
It is a factual statement. I did not go to school for that. But that's not what I get paid for, is probably the best way to do it. I don't get paid to market like that. I get paid to sell homes, to negotiate, and to,
Yeah.
do all that kind of stuff. So it's okay for my brain not to be oriented 100% that way, and to lean into a tool to get it done.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
That's just my question though. It's like once it's commonplace to have an AI that does it all, that posts all your content, it's like, will that just create the demand for more content, or will people be like, oh, that's an AI, I don't care?
No, 'cause, you create it to your brand voice, and also it doesn't you still have to direct it to tell it what to post,
Yeah.
and it needs to abide by your brand voice. So, it's giving you options, like, you can do this or you can do this, so it just helps you kinda create and be there in that space.
Hmm. I like that. This has been amazing.
Has it?
Yeah.
Good, I'm glad you had
Yeah.
fun. I had fun.
I had a lot of fun.
Good.
This is you were episode 1 and 2,
Oh,
and now
wow.
this is gonna be episode 16, I think.
Wow, you're up in the teens? That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've been listening to your podcasts, they're fun.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed them.
This has been fun. Normally, I because time and everything else, I've just been doing them like solo,
Yeah.
and which I love. Those are fun. But this,
Yeah, Rusty, tell me that you don't love to talk. Liar.
it's all about me.
No, it's not that it's all about you. No, every time I'm listening to your podcast, it like feels like I'm on a road trip with you. Like how we used to do road trips from Missouri to Georgia, and you would talk for as long as your voice would last for an hour, and, and I love it. It was super fun.
Oh, well, I'm glad it takes you back.
Yeah, it does.
Hopefully, it has that effect on other people as well.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's fun. It's good.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. No, this has been amazing. I had a lot
Good.
of fun.
Good. Me
Yeah.
too.
And we're still together.
Yes.
So we
We
made
didn't
it.
even get into an argument because we know that we have very
Yet.
different opinions on these things. I don't think we hit it really hard on things we're really different on.
Yeah. We'll make a list and we'll hit that next time.
And we'll bring boxing gloves.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And I think we're gonna sign off.
Thank you.
Love ya.
Love you.